This is Victoria Cox, and I am excited because it is a Zoom training tonight. So far, we have about 14 people that are online, the people that really want to know more, and it is going to be an open discussion and for Q&A and so forth. So Ann Hill, my logistics manager, is here, and her and Natalie, they're both work with me this year, so they're going to like in tandem, I'm sure, to answer questions. Natalie's going to focus on what she's doing, and Ann and I will keep an eye on any chats and any questions in the chat room. So Natalie Palmer is the best when it comes to training and Zoom. So we got the expert for you guys to answer questions and do what you need to do. I am going to be quiet so you can have 59 minutes of Natalie.
Okay, well, hi everybody. My name is Natalie Palmer. I am a Toastmaster. Parker Toastmasters is my home club. That's the club that I belong to. Thursday nights, 7 o'clock, if you ever want to come hang out online with us. And in my everyday real world, I am an IT trainer for UC Health. And my focus for the last several years has been on training the electronic medical record, which is a highly complex system where we record all of your medical information, place orders, get results. It holds everything in there. And we've been training hundreds of people a week as they are new hires coming into the system. But everything shifted really very rapidly in March, Thursday, March 12th. I remember it because Friday the 13th was the next day. And that was the day that we found out that we were going to shift from teaching in the room, in the classroom, to being entirely online. And then the next 5 days, my staff recorded over 200 hours of instruction to create online modules that people would be able to watch as new hires. And we made a really rapid shift to how can people meet online. Now at UC Health, Microsoft Teams is the tool that we use. And so I will say straight off the bat, Microsoft Teams is where I spend most of my week, and that's where I really consider myself to be more of an expert. But Zoom really has become the most common tool for Toastmasters to use. It's very easy to set up an account, and people are just becoming more familiar with it. And most recently, I had the opportunity to work with Toastmasters International when they did their training for all of the district directors, program quality directors, and club growth directors from around the world. Now, usually in August, they bring all of those individuals to the location of the conference. But of course, that's not a possibility this year. And so instead of bringing everyone together for centralized training, they had region advisors who are appointed by the president of Toastmasters to serve for a year as operational support to district leaders. Region advisors had to do their training online for these groups, but they quickly realized that this was a little more complex than a lot of people were used to doing and pretty different from their day-to-day world, their day-to-day jobs. So they reached out to past people like me. I used to be, I served for a year as a region advisor and asked us if we could serve as Zoom masters. So I had the great pleasure to serve as support for the Toastmasters online training over 2 weekends while they provided training for groups from all around the world in different time zones. So what I would like to know tonight is, what are people interested in knowing about for Zoom? I want to make sure that we're answering questions that you have. Now, I'll ask you if you want to unmute your microphone and give some feedback in a minute, but you can also put things into the chat and we'll be able to see it over there. We're doing one today and one next week. Today, we'd really like to focus on some of the more basic things. Setting up meetings, screen sharing, some of the basic fundamentals of Zoom. We've got an hour reserved. If we don't use the entire time, nothing wrong with that. We want to make this worth your time. And then next week, we'll talk talk about how can you make meetings more effective and more interactive when they are online. What are some of the tools that we can use, like meeting rooms, polls, screen annotation features that can make a meeting more effective when you have to host it online. So there we go. I see breakout rooms and levels. Lisa, when you say levels, what do you mean by that? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Lisa, when you say levels, what do you mean by that?
The levels of Zoom that you're on, what is that level that you need in order to have that breakout room?
Okay, that's great. So let me go ahead and just answer that while we're there. Zoom has different levels. There's a free account. That's what I have personally. It's the most basic one, and that's where they cap you to the 40-minute meetings, which is the longest that you can have. Once you have a paid subscription, then you get the additional features like breakout rooms. I am a spendthrift with a child in college and a husband getting his second doctorate. I don't pay for a Zoom. So does anyone know what level? I'm never ashamed to ask for assistance. Does anyone know what level gets you access to breakout rooms?
You can have the pro level, which is the next level after free.
Okay, so the
And
next
it's
level
the
up,
paid amount, right?
the paid one. Yeah. Okay. So there we
And I
go.
only pay $13 a month for that privilege. So
Okay. There you go. And what's the limit on the number of people you can have at a meeting? So you've got the first level of paid Zoom. What is the cap on how many people you can have in a meeting? Do you know that off the top of your head, or a rough guesstimate?
about 100.
Okay.
That's about it.
Excellent. And the one that we're using today is the district one. They have an enterprise or corporate account, which is where they can have a much more significant number of people on there. So yay, thanks Victoria for letting us there tonight. Excellent. Screen share, excellent. I see Margaret would like to learn how to screen share. We will definitely spend some time on that tonight, Margaret. And where there would be a sequence of images. When you say sequence of images, Margaret, what do you mean by that?
If I have, for example, 5 different PDFs or pictures of animals or people or whatever, and I want to share those, I have not been able to, and nobody in my group has been able to so far figure out how to successfully share it in succession. I know that you start by hitting the share screen button, and then there's a little arrow to the right side, and I'm hoping that what you can do is just click on that arrow to the right side and you will advance to the next image, the next
Okay.
PDF, whatever.
Okay.
So, but so far none of us can get beyond the first image.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Margaret. I'm looking down to see what we have. Dana, a way to do mini feedback evals for each of our speaker so that we can give them to the speaker from every member, kind of like a poll format. Excellent. Screen share. So let me go ahead. I love this. Screen share is a really interesting topic for people. Excellent. We'll see what we can do for this. I've got a couple ideas for you about how we can do that. Ooh, issues when playing a video with volume. Okay, sounds good. That's a screen share issue right there. You use Zoom. Hi, Mark. You use Zoom with 2 other companies and have a call me function with both. Haven't seen that on Toastmasters Zoom. Now that would not be something that I use in my everyday life and I'm not familiar with. Mark, we'll come back to that. We'll ask you a couple questions about that a little bit later to see if we can kind of dial in on that a little. So we know that screen share is a big interest to this group right there. So we can spend some really good time talking about that. But before we do that, I would like to know, what questions do you have about just the basics of setting up a meeting? You're welcome to unmute.
So I have a question because
Yes.
Unfortunately, Anne might not be available on a day that I need her. However, do we need, if we get an account, bless you, Bobby, if we get an account that allows breakout rooms,
Mhm.
do we have to schedule it in the meeting when we're making the meeting, or can we do it after the meeting starts?
So Victoria, your question is, if I want to have breakout rooms, do I have to set them up before the meeting occurs, or after the meeting has started, can I set up breakout rooms? Is that your question?
Yes.
Okay, so the answer is you do not have to have the breakout rooms ready to go when you first start a meeting. They can be done during the meeting. But if you have the ability to do breakout rooms in your account, you need to turn them on in the backstage view of Zoom in the online account when you set up the meetings. And that's something you can have consistently set up across the way. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, my friends. Let me go ahead and share my screen right here. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, now my other question is, on the right-hand side of my screen, can you see my Zoom settings with pictures going down the side?
On the left or the right?
Right here.
Oh yeah, I can see those.
So you can see the panel. Excellent. So there is a way that you can set up Zoom, and I just pulled that off my screen so it's not going to be distracting you. There's a way you can set up your Zoom account so that the Zoom controls do not show. I went ahead and tried right before we had this meeting today to turn on so that you can see my Zoom controls, just so that we might be able to see those a little bit later. All right, so here I am. I'm logged into my account. This is my free account. This would be for any meetings that I set up that I have control over. But when you look on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see you've got a navigator that goes down that left-hand side of the screen that has different things that you can set up. And let me go ahead and I'm just going to click on the top one right there that says profile. So this is my personal profile of what kind of account that I have right here. And I, my friends, am basic. I am basic right there. But you know, I have a work account in Teams, and then anything that I need to do for Toastmasters, I do through Victoria. So it works just fine for me. Now my club, Parker Toastmasters, we have a slightly upgraded account so that we can have a few more features in our meeting. All right, over here in my navigator, underneath meetings, let me go ahead and click on that right there. This is where I can, oops, there we go, schedule a meeting. So when you want to schedule a meeting, you can just click that button there on the right-hand side that I have the arrow drawn to. And it's going to go ahead and let me set up a meeting. One of the important things, if you are doing this for a Toastmasters meeting, is that you have the ability to set it as a recurring meeting. So if you say you want this to happen every Thursday from 7 to 8:30, it will go ahead and just set those out for you so you don't have to be building it up all the time right there. Now, one of the other things that you can do when you set up a meeting is you can say that you want to have a passcode for people to use, and you can have the waiting room. So we've heard a lot about Zoom bombing. I don't know a lot of people that a Zoom bomb has actually happened to, and that would be where someone comes in uninvited and causes problems during a meeting. I really don't know of a lot of situations where that has really happened, but I do value privacy and security. So do what is appropriate for you, your club, and your comfort level when it comes to this. Now my passcode right here is just set as a random one, but I can change that. So for my club, for example, Parker Toastmasters Club 4881, our password is Parker 4881. So that's how we would be able to get in. We keep it the same, but it's just a little security feature. Now, the other thing I have here is a waiting room. And that would mean that When you come to the meeting, you have to sit in a waiting room and you have to be let in by the host or by a co-host. And that gives you some control over whether people come in to the meeting or not. Now, for my club meeting, we do not have a waiting room. We just let you come on into the meeting. There's been no problems whatsoever. When we did the Toastmasters International training, we did have a waiting room. So everyone who came in had to be seen to be in the right place and then let in. Now, the nice thing about this was when I was the Zoom host is I could see that someone came to the wrong training and they weren't on our list. I could send them a message in the room and say, you're in the wrong place. Let me give you the link of where you're supposed to go. And they could go ahead and just jump out. Victoria might know how that is. I say with a wink.
Yes. I often do not put waiting rooms on smaller meetings because I want people just to come in. If it's a really limited time frame, for example, your meetings are an hour, and if they're in the middle of the day or something like that, I often don't put the waiting room. I just put the passcode. And like you, Natalie, I've never had anybody bomb a meeting.
Yeah.
So until it happens, which is sad, I'm not going to do that. I will just do a password if people need the password. And I was trying, and they now make it 6. I used to have a 3-digit one. Now they make it a minimum of 6 digits. So you do have to be careful on what you set your password for. But I usually don't click waiting room. That way
Yes, Victoria, there's a requirement from Zoom. There's not going to be an option as of September 27th. Zoom has been called out on the international stage for not having adequate privacy. And initially they set a deadline in June, but they moved it to September. And we just got an email this week, those of us who have pro Zoom accounts,
Okay.
and it start setting up your waiting room or password. One or the other is required.
Okay.
So you might want to make, and I'm sure Natalie agrees, at least 2 co-hosts then, because that way whoever's hosting the meeting doesn't have to keep checking the waiting room. It'll pop up at the bottom of the screen, and whoever, between the 2 co-hosts, all they got to do is click, 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 because they'll know who's supposed to be coming in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit different than like Natalie's, where she has specific training, only certain people are supposed to join.
Yeah. I was the bouncer. That's what I was. I felt like the bouncer. All right, we've got a couple other options down here. So I could say enable join before host. So that would mean if I set up the meeting and I was the host for it, but Margaret got there early. If I did not have that clicked, Margaret would just have to say, there's no host yet, please wait. But if she had the passcode and I had clicked that button, she would be able to come in and start interacting with other people. Mute participants upon entry. This might be something to consider if people have a tendency of being a little late for your Toastmasters meeting. This means everyone will be automatically muted when they come into the meeting room. So if you have people who just have trouble connecting, or they're just coming from work, it's just always a little late, and they've got a yippy dog in the background, maybe we want to mute everyone when they come in. You'll just have to remind people when their lips start moving and you don't hear anything that they need to unmute themselves. Here we go, breakout room pre-assign. This is what we were talking about. If you have breakout rooms and I wanted to pre-assign people to rooms, I could go ahead, click this box and be able to do this. Why would I do that? Well, if you are a teacher, for example, or if you had some specific groups you wanted to have for the meeting, you could go ahead, create the list and put them into those rooms so you didn't have to worry about it when you got into the meeting right there. Now, my understanding is, and my experience, is that you can only assign one set of breakout rooms. Well, when we were doing the Toastmasters training, we actually flipped people sometimes into 3 or 4 different breakout groups. So it would have been helpful the first time, but after that, it wouldn't have been much good for me. But if you want to talk more about breakout rooms, we can do that too. And automatically record the meeting on a local computer. That means instead of recording it to the Zoom Cloud account, do you want it to record automatically to your local computer? It will take up space. It may interfere with your bandwidth. And please be aware of privacy and safety. If you are going to be recording people, I would suggest you let people know ahead of time if you are going to be recording the meeting, just so they're aware of that. Where we're doing District 26 things, I think there's sort of an assumption or an understanding by now that we will be recording things to post them, but privacy and safety always should be a top concern. Go ahead and do that. And if you have anyone under the age of 18 who's going to be attending your meeting, please think carefully about whether or not that is a meeting that should be recorded simply for the privacy of minors. Okay, questions so far? I'm not reading my chat, and nobody has.
Natalie, I do have another question about the security and privacy bank of questions. I don't see it on your screen, but there's some question that says authenticate people coming in. Now I have we're doing a month Zoom host in our club, each with a different person for a month, so that we don't have to attend every meeting, and the Zoom host pretty much has to be there. So we have a different person doing it each month, and we're finding that we're setting up different settings. So our visitors had trouble last week getting in because they said what came up on the screen was a set of authentication questions, which I thought I saw on my schedule a meeting bank, and I don't see on yours.
Okay, that's a great question. So 2 things. 1, it could be because I'm looking at a free account. It may not be an option. But 2, is there anyone in the audience who knows more about this than me?
So just to say, so the visitors got asked, like, a whole grilling set of questions, like, who are you and whatever, what's your phone number and whatever, what's your email, some kind of, so we lost some of our guests. Even our area director could not get in.
Oh my gosh. 2 people have raised their hands. Do any of those people have some light they can shed on the subject?
This is Bill.
Hi, Bill.
I'm Sergeant of Arms, and I host our Zoom meetings. What I do on my email invite is I list some meeting entry notes. And one of the things I say is your Zoom display name must positively identify you. And then I only allow people out of the waiting room that I can identify.
Okay.
And if there's people I still cannot identify, I ask them to leave, change their display name, and come back in.
Okay. All right. Still haven't figured out the questions yet. Let's see. Dana, you got your hand up. Did you have something else to contribute, my friend?
Which Dana?
Dana Schenkel.
Oh.
Dana Rogers is like, I don't have my hand up.
I don't have my hand up.
When I entered the Zoom room, I just said hi. I waved my hand.
Oh, hello. I'm glad you're here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, my friends, the other place I want to go ahead and take a look at is the settings. And by the way, Trisha, who is our PR guru for the district, she was asking me the other day about whether this was really a Zoom meeting or a webinar. A webinar has 2 different definitions. We just call things that happen online a webinar. Oh, it's a webinar. It's a seminar that takes place on the web. In the Zoom world behind the scenes, a meeting is one we have like this where it's interactive. A webinar would be a much larger event where you as the participant were able to watch but not interact with the speakers. It's designed for very large scale events where you want to have really tight control over the production values right there. So we call these webinars. They are not in the technical Zoom definition a webinar because it's not that lockdown participation with higher production values. This is a Zoom meeting, but we call it a webinar. Okay, settings over here on the side. And by the way, if you are interested in what I am using to mark on the screen, let me go ahead and send in the chat. This is a little thing called Zoomit, Z-O-O-M-I-T. It's a small Microsoft program. If you have a Mac, I'm sorry, it's not going to work for you. But this is just a very small, tiny program that allows me to draw on my screen, to draw squares, to draw arrows, to draw circles. I can use different colors to draw on there. I can talk about this a little more next week with screen annotation. And it also allows me, my personal favorite, to put a timer on the screen, which is what I use when I teach, when I say, we're going to be taking a 10-minute break. This is how I know that everyone comes back. So Zoom It, one word, Zoom It is the name of that. It is not a part of Zoom. It is a separate extension that I use as a part of my professional presentations. All right, so I'm coming back here on the side. Oh, we've got a blue arrow now into the settings right there. As you go down the settings, you can see we've got a second navigator right here that has different options that you can choose the way that your meeting is set up. So these are just some more in-depth questions about, for example, do you want to have a meeting room that people come into? Are you going to require a passcode? Some different things right here. You can edit a passcode right there for personal meetings. I'm going to go ahead and click on the schedule meeting right here to jump me down to my next section, so you can see it's a navigation that'll take me down. Do I want other people, do I want my videos to always turn on when the host comes on? I'm not going to go through all of these, but if you just read through them one at a time, these will become permanent settings that change the look and the feeling of your meeting when you come into it. Inside the meeting, the next one down right here, I'm going to change that back to red just because I like the way red looks on the screen. The basics are going to be things like, do I allow people to have a chat? And will I stop people from saving the chat? You may have seen some news. People found out that if they were having a private chat with someone in the Zoom meeting, if the host saved it to their computer, they would be able to read the transcripts of all of the chats. Some of you are going, oh dear, I wonder if that happened to me. Just be careful when you're chatting on Zoom. That's all I can say. I do have private chat saved on. Will I save all the chats? So those are some of the types of things there. The next one there is some advanced settings. So it's turned on. I can report someone for inappropriate behavior in Zoom, which is good. Can I break people out into separate breakout rooms? Can you use a virtual background? So I see some of you already know how to use virtual backgrounds. If you want to know how to use virtual backgrounds, we can cover that really quickly there. Lisa, I see you put in the chat why. Why what, Lisa?
I was just curious, why do people spend their time just trying to get other people's conversations? That's just bizarre to me.
Well, it wasn't on purpose. People didn't realize it was a feature that happened. And I don't know the technicalities. I'm not an expert on the recording. And it wasn't that they were trying. It's just it came downloaded as a part of the meeting and the final meeting transcript and all of that. And people discovered that they were talking about how boring their boss was in the chat with a friend. They thought it was a private chat. And now their boss can read about how they think that they were, yeah. So just,
I think it's more of a work environment. You know, sometimes people want to go back, Lisa, and see if they missed any questions. But in the middle of it, you see these other conversations. So sometimes I don't think it's intentional. Years ago, my boss said that she got IMs. And it was the same kind of thing. And she came in over the weekend and I said, how was your weekend? And she says, I had to read 63 pages of instant messages and I found out more about people I want to know. And so she was just like, no more personal talk on IM at work. So it's kind of the same thing with the chats. You know, just be careful.
But yeah, be careful. That's the word there when it comes to all of these things, my friends. Be careful. Email notifications. Do you want emails when attendees join before the host? Do I want to be emailed? I have that on. I don't want you to email me. I'm going to turn that off right there. And then it's got some others, and some of these are just more advanced things, maybe things that you really don't need to worry about. But you can also, for example, I could assign scheduling privileges. So Anne, for example, could be assigned scheduling privileges for Victoria and take responsibility for Victoria's account for scheduling meetings within the context of her job role for the district. So my club, Tom sets up the meetings for us every week, but he would have the ability to let someone else use his account and set meetings up on his behalf right there. Okay, friends, what questions do you have about those settings right there? Kind of an in-depth look there. Once you know where to go and look for those, once you figure out what you want and turn them on, it's pretty much a one and done because they're going to be set for all of the meetings that you schedule in your account from there on out. But then when you find out that the meeting's not acting the way you want it to, now you know the place to go look. It's in really pretty understandable language. I really haven't found any sort of text speak to be confusing. If you just read the question, it's really easy to understand what's going on in those. Any questions, my friends? And then we'll start talking about screen sharing. Oh, Margaret says, if you've made everyone a co-host so they can start the meeting without you, the host. Correct. Who knows the answer to that? You guys, one of my greatest strengths as a trainer is never pretending to know more than I do. So if I'm not sure, I'm going to poll the audience, and if we don't know, we'll try to find an answer for you. So if she's made everyone a co-host so they can they start the meeting without her?
Yes.
Yes. Anne says yes. I'm going to take Anne's word on it. Anne, is there anything I missed, overlooked, or misspoke on?
Oh, no, you've done well. I need to learn how to set up the timer for me, but we can do that next time.
Okay. We'll do that next time. There we go. Dana, you asked, is Zoom It an app? Zoom It, I'll just go ahead. Zoom It. Oh, it looks like my caps lock is on right here. It is just a very small 448 kilobyte little just side program right there. I'm going to go ahead and put that to everyone in the meeting right there. You can grab that link right there, copy it, and save it for a little bit later. And there's also a great guide. And we have the ability to email everyone after the meeting, right, who attended? We can pull a user report. Anne's muted. Anne, there we go.
No one registered for this.
Okay.
So
All right.
we're not able to do that.
No worries whatsoever. But there we go. I just searched for Zoom It, one word. It was the top hit right there. You download it. There's some great little videos on YouTube that you can have, and you can email me directly and I will send you my favorite YouTube video that someone just released a couple weeks ago about annotating and it was Teams is what he was talking about, but Zoom It is what he used. It's a 16-minute video, nice and clear, really patient right there. All right, my friends, let's talk a little bit about the exciting world of screen share. I know you're ready for it. I can tell you are right there. So with screen share, when you want to share a screen, let me see, there we go. Oh, I moved it to the bottom right there. New share. So if I say new share, my question is, can you see the select a window that came up on my screen?
No.
No.
Oh, shoot. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, oh, that didn't work the way I expected it to right there.
So everybody raise your hand if this has happened to you. Right?
I know exactly how to make it work in Teams, like Teams I live in all the time. But my friends, you know what the great thing is that we can all go ahead and take a look at what that looks like on our own computers, even without going stop, rewind my brain. We can all take a look at what the screen share panel looks like, as long as we don't go the final step and say we're ready to share our screens. So if you move your cursor around on your screen, at the bottom of your screen, you should see that little panel that shows up across the bottom. And one of those options is share screen. Do you see it? Okay. If you click on the main share screen, you should have a little panel that pops up in front of the rest of your windows. Let me see some nodding heads if you get that right there. Excellent. Okay, good. This works great. So what happens is you have the option of what it is you would like to share with the rest of your audience. Now, there's two important ways that you can do this. One is you have the option to share an entire screen. When you share the entire screen, everybody can see everything that's on the screen. So you get chat messages that pop up, people may be able to see it. Email notifications that come up, everyone will be able to see it. I have two screens, so I actually have the ability to share screen 1 or screen 2. I've been sharing screen 1 with you, and I have all of my presenter notes on screen 2. So that's the way I have things set up here at my home. I say my home office, but really I'm in my dining room. You can see my table behind me. Then you have the option to share some other things. You may be able to see a whiteboard. A whiteboard, if you share that. Oh, Ann Hill has started sharing.
I'm sorry. Now I have to go back and get it out.
No worries. But it's okay because you know what? I'm the boss. I turned you off right there. Okay.
Thank you.
So as the host, I had the ability to stop sharing her screen. When that happens, we can just go back to the bottom of our screen, click that share screen, and it'll pop that panel right back up there for you. So the whiteboard gives me the ability to like scribble, to draw notes on it. We'll do a little bit of work next week in the advanced features about how we can use that whiteboard for some interactivity with the people that we're working with. If you've got an iPhone or iPad connected, you can share that screen. And then you're going to see specific programs to share. So for me, I see the Zoom It window I could share. I could share what I've got pulled up on my Chrome so you could read my email if I wanted that. I also have my downloads pulled up so you could see my download screen is there. You could see my Spotify screen if I shared it with you. You could see my Microsoft Teams from work. So the difference is if I shared with you just a single application, that is all you would be able to see. But if I shared with you the screen, you would be able to see if I pulled things on the screen and pulled them off the screen and opened them and closed them. You would see all the activity that was going on your screen. There are benefits and drawbacks to each of those approaches. If I share just my whole screen, then it's less for me sort of to juggle sometimes. What's there, you see it, I see it, you see it. There we go. However, like my husband tonight, he defended his thesis for his PhD program. He only wanted to show his PowerPoint screen because he had notes he wanted to see too. So he just chose to share PowerPoint, and then his notes were on the same screen, but the people watching his presentation couldn't see that. You just have to remember, if you're trying to draw their attention to a different screen, they're not going to see it. Now, I can't use the dual screen. I can't use that when I'm teaching the computer system I use at work, we found out, because we get little pop-up windows, little menus that pop up. And if I share just the screen, it considers those little pop-up menus to be a separate screen. So the people who are watching my presentation, when I'm like, do you see where the search for patient window popped up? They're all going, no, there's nothing there, because I only shared the application and not the whole screen. So it doesn't see the whole pop-up. I see a couple head nods. So some of you are like, yep, that makes sense to me. If it doesn't, no worries. We're all good, my friends, right there. Now, also on that screen, if you look at the bottom little bar that goes across, you can see the ability to share computer sound and to optimize screen sharing for video clip. So if you want to play music, if you want to play a YouTube video for someone, before you share the screen, you want to make sure that those are clicked on, or else they're going to see the video going, but they're not going to hear any sound right there. All right, what questions do you guys have about the exciting world of screen share?
Hi, it's George.
Hi, George.
Hey, I understand you can share mouse too. So if you don't, for instance, I'll have somebody renew doing their renewal fees, but I'll let them type them in while I have them in under my control. It's, you know, on my screen, but they're doing the typing, so I don't need to, they put in their credit card number, not me.
Excellent. You are right, my friends. I am going to share my screen with you right there. And I'm going to, there we go. When I am sharing my screen, I have the ability to grant someone remote control. So, George, you're the one who is asking the question. I am sharing my screen, and I went ahead and I put my cursor. You guys can't see that little menu at the top of my screen, can you?
No.
No, okay. So what happened is I put my cursor at the top of my screen, and there's a little menu that comes down while I'm sharing my screen. And one of my options was remote control. It gave me a list of people, and I'm going to go ahead and give it to George. George, what came up on your screen right there?
Well, I see your Zoom it yet.
Okay. Did it ask you if you would like to take control of my screen?
It did not. It did not.
Well, it should have.
It should. Let's see.
You are controlling my screen.
Okay.
Okay. I am not typing that, my friends. Okay.
Okay.
George is typing on my screen. So yeah, he has the ability to go ahead and cause a lot of problems, I think, right there. But I'm going to go ahead and.
Not because you're the host, Natalie.
No.
I have that ability. There's a green bar at the top of the screen. It says you are viewing Natalie Palmer's. To the right of that, there's
a view option.
Click on that,
Okay.
and that's the menu.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Bobby. I see it.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. So that is really nice. And so let's rehash what George was talking about there. When George wants to help someone like renew their membership and they need to put their credit card number in, instead of them reading it out to George, George can give them control of his screen, and they have the ability to put in their own information or to type it into the screen right there. Really nice, allowing people some control and some interactivity right there.
How many people will like work against? Like everybody can't do it all at the same time though, right?
No. I can only grant one person permission at a time to do that right there. Let's see, we've got some chats coming up right.
Oh, I see. It says request. So, I mean, that's awesome about membership payments, which I did not know. So to me, Natalie, we need to do some screenshots with some instructions, if you can make a note.
Okay.
So that we can send that out, because, you know, payments are coming up, end of September? Middle of September. So that would be awesome.
Yes. Okay. And for the sharing the credit card, so Lisa, this would be, for example, is that George could log into the Toastmasters website or into a PayPal site and say, all right, if you're ready to make your payment, let's go ahead and get this screen set up to you. Bill, have a good night. Thanks so much for stopping by. And then he could go ahead and say, you go ahead, I'm going to give you control of the screen. You can type in your own credit card information and I won't record any of it. You can put it in and hit return. And then there you go. George doesn't have to type in and put any of that information in right there. All right. So the other question is right here. How do you share a screen, the PowerPoint slides with the viewers, but you only see the notes? That is a great question right there. So one of the questions that we had, my friends, was, you know, if I want to share a series of images, how can I do that? You know, one of the things I think that we try sometimes is we try a little too hard to be perfect when it comes to doing these things. I think when you are in control and you have a plan, people feel comfortable. If you feel panicked and you feel uncomfortable, then people are like, oh geez, this is coming off the rails. I don't know what's going on. But if you say, I have a series of images I want to share with you, let me go ahead and pull those up. If you have them, for example, saved on your desktop, you can open them up one at a time. Or you can save them in a Word document and then just scroll through the Word document. You could put them in a PowerPoint and have them on separate PowerPoint slides. It's really fast and easy to put together a PowerPoint and just have those visuals on them right there. When you just say, let me go ahead and switch images, if you're calm, your audience is going to be calm. When you say, I don't know what's going on, just hang on, I'm so sorry, the audience feels nervous too. So the question was, how can you share a PowerPoint without everyone seeing it? Well, I've got a couple different answers for you, depending on your answer. And you still want to see the notes. That's a great question right there. So there are a couple things that we can do. So here are my notes. This is, by the way, my friend, this is one of the PowerPoints from Toastmasters International. And I feel obligated, since they're 5 miles away from me, to say, if you do a presentation for the district, Toastmasters International would be really happy if you could use their officially branded PowerPoint presentations. We'd be happy to show you how to download those right there. I think that might get Victoria to laugh right there. Yes? Yeah, I think she's laughing. But no, they're beautiful PowerPoints. And so if you can use them, they make you look just beautifully, we have 12 minutes. Is someone annotating on my screen? They make it look just quite lovely. Who's writing on my screen?
I am.
You are. Look at that. I'm going to clear you
That's
off.
because I have another meeting at 7.
Don't worry. One thing I do is I end meetings on time.
I know.
So don't worry about that, my friends.
So just real quick, everybody, we're going to talk about branding very specifically for people that want to know more about it, because we're the home team. We are under a microscope about branding, and we are not allowed to not be under the microscope. So we're going to talk about branding so that everybody understands where to get it on the internet, where to go, how to change colors, and how to create non-Toastmaster flyers that are still compliant within the colors and the fonts, because that's their thing, color and font. So I'm sure Natalie will be helping us with that too later on.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, my friends. If you're looking at your screen, previously you saw the entire PowerPoint showing up on my screen. Now do you only see the PowerPoint slide?
Yes.
Okay, so what I have done, my friends, and I'm changing the slides and you're just seeing it right there. You guys, I used a little trick that is a part of that screen share. So if you would be so kind as to once again click on your screen and pull up that little option to do a screen share and see what your options are. At the top of that panel, we were looking at the basic, but you'll notice that there's a second button up there that says advanced. And you can, one of those is
Natalie?
a portion, yeah.
It's telling us we can't, at least it's telling me I can't start sharing while other participants are sharing.
Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen. There we go. Thank you so much for saying something. All right, my friends, click on that button right there. You should see that pop up. So top bar right there, there's a basic and an advanced. If you look at the advanced, you'll see you have the option to share a portion of a screen. Don't click on it right now, but just know that once you do, you can practice this in the future, or else we're all going to end up seeing something. You can draw it'll make a box, and you can just share that area where the PowerPoint screen is. That's where the slide you want to display. Now, for most of you, you only have a single screen at home. You're working off a laptop or you're working off of just a single monitor. So that little portion of the screen, because one of the things you know about PowerPoint slides is they're all the same size. So if you adjust the settings on your screen, and I am going to go ahead and share my screen right there. There we go. So here's my PowerPoint slide. At the bottom of my slide, if I've got notes, I have adjusted my screen by putting my cursor so I get that funny little upsy downsy and shrinking up the size. That would give me a nice big space for my notes right there. And then when I shared a portion of my screen, I could just draw the box around the slide that I want to show. Now that's going to show up full size for you, but it's going to be small here for me.
Nice.
So here on my screen, I would be able then to scroll through and click on my next slides, and you would be able to see everything right there.
Can
now,
you click on one of them just to show us?
Well, let me go ahead and reshare my screen just a second here. New share, advanced, portion of the screen, share. It's drawn a nice big box. You can see it's a funky size right now. And then I just grabbed the corner of that and then pulling it in, just like resizing a box. You'll take a look at it and you'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then as I go through my slides.
So it looked like your previous screen where all your notes are at the bottom.
And so I still just see, yeah, I see the same screen that I did before, but you're only seeing a portion of my screen. So that, my friends, with 8 minutes left, is my PowerPoint hack of how you can read your notes and be able to see, and your crowd, you will only be able to see part of the screen right there. I'm going to pop back, and I have not changed anything on my screen. This is what I was seeing the entire time right there. Okay. Now, the other thing is, friends, is that you can set up a meeting with just yourself. You can just start a meeting, jump in, and practice these things with yourself. Or you can find, like, my daughter's a college student who I'm like, I pay your tuition, get on this Zoom meeting and practice with me. I will lend her out for a fairly reasonable tuition rate if you are interested. The other thing you can do, though, is if you want to have the biggest amount of screen available, you can open your screen all the way and you can make your thumbnails disappear. And this is a Windows trick right here. And now on my screen, all I see is the slide right there. I'm not presenting. I have just made what am I trying to say? The slide take up the entire screen. And that's nice. We use this in one of the Toastmasters training, this feature, and then we dragged text boxes onto different parts of a game board while people were going around it. I could show you that some other time right there. All right, my friends, it is 6 minutes till, and we are going to finish on time because that's one of the things that I look at doing. let's see some of these questions right here. Lisa, thank you for saying I'm a great multitasker. That's very kind of you. Is sharing a video straightforward? Yeah, it is very straightforward. You'll just make sure you click that audio button if you want them to see the audio, and then you can share the screen, or you can share like your YouTube screen right there. I highly recommend you practice with someone else just to see what the quality of the video is, and recognize there may be a little bit of an audio lag depending on the quality of your internet connection. Okay. When you're reading your notes, how can you appear to be looking at the camera? When I do really big presentations, I have Post-it notes that I put up at the side of mine. That's my hack. I don't have a better one than that unless you have the money to have a really nice screen scroller hanging in front of there. But I'm open to new things. Come back next week and let me know. Tip by TM Pros, yeah, sticky note next to your device. Yep, there we go.
Bobby has his hand up.
Bobby, what's up?
I discovered I can actually see you guys right now, and I can look at the screen because I have a camera on the screen between me and my television, and I can look right at my eyes. And can you really tell that I'm not looking straight at the screen right now? Or now I am, now I'm not.
Well, you've told me, and now you're kind of freaking me out. I don't know.
The secret is to put the camera, is to get a camera that's between you and the monitor that you can look past. So I'll take a picture of the setup.
There we go. When you've got tech savvy and a good budget, there are a lot of things that you can do. My camera is just up on the top of my monitor right there. So, you know, it's sort of, when I give bigger presentations, I have a sticky note. If there is something that I want to have specifically scripted, there are pictures of me at work with things taped up on my computer monitor. Or if I have specific notes, I put a sticky note sticking up above my monitor that I can just go and make sure I hit the, like, you know, I've got 4 main points. I put them up there, and I practice for the big ones. My husband was like, you just always wing it when you have a speech. I'm like, yeah, I may do that. But when I've got really important things for work and I have to do it in 3 minutes, I script the entire thing and practice really tightly. All right, you guys, it is 6:57. So I'm going to go ahead and stick a fork in this one and call it done. We want to thank you so much for coming tonight. Next week, same bat time, same bat channel. We're going to meet up again. We're going to talk about some features about how you can create a really good and more interactive meeting experience, from planning ahead of time to some tools that you can use during the meeting to make it interactive. We'll include meeting rooms, we'll include polls, screen annotation. Those are some of the things we'll take a look at. If you've got other questions, you are most welcome to send me a note. My contact information is on the district website under Training Advisor, so you can find me there, or natalie.palmer.tm for Toastmasters @gmail.com. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you, Natalie. Thanks,
all right,
you guys.
Victorious. Yeah, we're going to stop recording this.
I do.